itself how to become a tree. There's a power in a cell, and it's capable of making a you or a me. There's a power in a word, vibrating at a frequency, and there's a power inside that power, inside that power. You know what it is? Is it love, 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 love? If you're muted, you can sing that with me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Come on, one more time. Love, 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 love. I see you singing. And you can feel it revealed when an open, broken heart begins to be healed. It breaks like the sky when a long, dark night starts spinning on the wheel of the world. Watch it rise out of the ashes, comes another day of bright light, shining through your eyes. So much surprise every time we fall in love. Love, 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 love. I see you. You got it. Love, 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 love. Check it out. We are unstoppable, just like the wind. Anything is possible from God within. The root is good in each of us here, and the nature of love is in everyone, everywhere. What spirit originates, spirit orchestrates willingness, granted to create your fate. One power, one people under one sun, peace, love, joy, and freedom. Oh, yeah, yeah. We are one, we are one, we are one. Yeah, there's a force in the fist, and when unclenched it ceases to exist, it shifts into light. So much freedom releases from the wrist, so insist on bliss, insist on bliss, insist on bliss, insist on bliss, insist on bliss. Here we go, let's sing it. Insist on love, 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 love. Hand on your heart, do you feel it? Love, 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 love. Yeah, yeah. La da 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 da. There's a power in a seed, reminding itself how to become a tree. There's a power in a cell, and it's capable of making a you or a me. There's a power in a word, love, vibrating at a frequency, and there's a power inside that power and back of all that power. You know what it is? You know what it is. You know what it is. It's love.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy Steinberg.
My pleasure.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am Reverend Dr. Cherie, Board President of the affiliated New Thought Network, ANTN, and I would like to welcome you, wishing you a very happy Earth Day, and welcome you to our second annual virtual retreat. This year's topic, A World Rooted in Love. ANTN's vision is connecting the New Thought community through consciousness and love. We are a membership organization of New Thought centers, churches, and organizations, as well as individuals. And we are so happy that you are with us today. This entire retreat is free of charge. And again, we're so glad you're here. All of the presenters, musicians, and operations folks are here free of charge as well. And I want to do a really quick shout out to our leadership team and thank them for their wisdom, their dedication, their, oh my goodnessness, if that's a word. Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni, Reverend Mary Beth Spear, Reverend Michael Spear, and on the technology side, New Thought Media Network, and Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski. We thank all of you so much for your wisdom and dedication, because we wouldn't be here today without all of you. So thank you so much for that. We are grateful for your love offering. You can use the donation button on our website at antn.org or newthought.org to support the program. Donations will be shared with all the presenters. Now we have an invocation from a beloved friend. It's so good to see you. Reverend Dr. Sheree Taylor-Jones is the senior minister for Unity Church of the Hills in Round Rock, Texas, outside of Austin. Reverend Dr. Cherie, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Jerry. It's really good to be here. It's good to see all of you. And I love doing the invocation because it sets the intention. It sets the intention of what we are doing together. So if you're willing, let's just take that nice deep breath in and exhale. And we take that breath that reminds us there is something greater than ourselves breathing us. And in this moment, we invite Spirit, God, the allness of the universe. Whatever name we use, we affirm that there is only one power, one presence in the universe, God the good. And as we come together in our divinity, in our humanity, we claim love is all that matters. And today, we see ourselves building anew, creating a loving tribe of inspired leaders, ready to face all the challenges of our society, ready to push through to the next threshold of evolution of consciousness. And today we just breathe into this moment of love, of connection, of oneness. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Thank you so much. I'd like to tell you just a little bit more about ANTN before we move on. We host a monthly Thought Leader Thursday session on Zoom. It's a series of interviews hosted by our Reverend Dr. PJ Stanley and features insights and ideas from speakers, authors, visionaries, luminaries, and leaders of New Thought. It's on the last Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. More information is on our website, again, newthought.org or antn.org, and you can go to our YouTube page, which is ANTN Members and Friends, and view and listen to prior month's conversations. This event every month on the last Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time is open to everyone, so you don't have to be a member of ANTN, open to everyone and your friends as well. So we invite you to be with us for that. The annual ANTN retreat, we are very excited about. Once again, we are this year at Unity Village, the week of September 26th to the 30th. The theme is Love, Learn, Decide, and Do. And it features inspiring keynotes, exciting workshops, sharing and connecting with New Thought friends of long standing, because I don't like the word old friends, as well as new friends. Our featured speakers will be Milagros Phillips and Bayu Akamolafe, and music director Amy Steinberg. And I want to tell you, we're going to hear from Amy in just a second, but I want to tell you just a little about her. Singular is the word that best describes Amy Steinberg. Uplifting, enlightening, and hilarious, with a voice that can burn the house down. She is a singer, songwriter, and storyteller like none other. She plays the piano and guitar with her own swingy rhythmic bounce, injecting shades of jazz, rock, hip hop, and poetry, all with a theatrical flair. She is also an accomplished artist, as you'll notice by the paintings behind her, and also, thankfully, by the painting behind me in my dining room, speaking of love. So, Amy, dear one, good morning and welcome. It's so good to see you.
It's amazing to be with you.
So tell us, if you would please, about your plans for Amazing Unity Village in September.
I am overjoyed to be coming there and rocking and softening and singing all of your favorites, all of the New Thought hits, along with some contemporary stuff. We're going to have lots of guests. We're going to have so much. If you want to sing, if you want to be a part of the music, contact me. I love Unity Village, and I'm so honored to be doing this with you all, Jerry and Bill, and everybody who's here. So please come. You know, if you haven't gotten your room yet, I don't know if all the rooms are already booked up, but I know it'll book up. So come, sing with me, get close. Let's, music is the soul of a conference, I think. And so I'm so honored to be able to, be that energy to get us in that place of love, learn. What is it? Love, learn.
It is love, learn, decide, and do.
Decide and do. That's it. That's how we get to work this stuff. So I'm so excited. So thank you for letting me just kind of be here and say a few words. And I'm super excited about this day. So,
Amy, thank you so much. I talk to so many people who say that visiting Unity Village, they've never done it and it's on their bucket list. I so invite you this year, like no other, to put it at the top of your bucket list and come and be with us. The weather will still be nice the end of September. It's just an amazing, spiritual, extraordinary place. The rooms are wonderful. If the hotel is full, we have a deal with the Holiday Inn Express just down the street. The food is amazing. The experience will be extraordinary. So I so invite you to be with us for that, and go to our website, newthought.org, for more information and to register. It's always a great experience. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Reverend Dr. Michael Gott. Ernest Holmes famously said, "The physical universe is the necessary and logical outcome of spirit. If we truly live from a non-dual reality, then material reality and our entire human experience is sacred. It's time to reconcile spirit and earth, soul and body. It's time to live our wholeness." Reverend Dr. Michael Gott has been a leader in the New Thought movement for over 20 years. While currently focused on serving as the spiritual leader of Unity of Houston, he also travels throughout North America and Europe, singing and speaking at conferences and spiritual centers. Reverend Dr. Gott has been ordained by both Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Centers for Spiritual Living. Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, it is so good to see you, and welcome.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm so honored to be here, everyone. All right, so yeah, it's just really an honor. I have to just start by saying, I've been doing this a long time. I have been speaking for 20 years, and I have been, a minister now for I think 13 or 14 years. But 99% of my experience is doing a 3-point talk on a Sunday morning. So this is a little different. So I've got a little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and be honest, I have a little bit of a beginner's nerves today, but I'm just here to share what I can. I heard a great talk by Dr. Barbara Brown Taylor. I don't know if you guys know her. She is an Episcopal priest and a professor and wonderful author. And she was speaking at Riverside Church in New York, and she said, "I recognize that we're of different traditions, and you're accustomed to sermons being more long." And she said, "I'm Episcopal. I give a 20-minute sermon. So if at the end of my speaking you do not feel fed, raise your hand and I'll start over." So I have no idea if I have too much material today or too little, but just feel free to tell me to do it differently if it's not working for you. A few years ago, this conversation was relayed to me that these two Unity ministers were talking, and one said, "Did you know that Howard Caesar was retiring from Unity of Houston?" And the other said, "Oh, great. Who's his successor?" And they said, "Michael Gott." And they said, "The musician?" So I still feel kind of like that too. I'm much more comfortable at a conference behind a piano, but I will be part of the concert tonight. I'm excited about that. But I do have some things I want to share with you today. I thank you, Jerry, for reading my description. Today is Earth Day, and I think that we in New Thought can get caught in the thought quite a bit. We're very focused on mind as the entry point to spiritual freedom and reality. And today I want to speak a little bit about how we might be served by embodiment by moving into a greater harmony. Maybe that's the word. Go back to my music training. So I'm going to start with one of the old stories today. So let me start. I'm going to share my screen, and we can go to my PowerPoint. So it is Earth Day, so happy Earth Day. My title today is Spirits in a Material World, which some of you may recognize, you 80s kids, as a song by The Police. Great album, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But this is what we're going to be focusing on the beginning. It's like, what is the nature of reality? And this is one of the old stories. This image is somewhat silly to me. It's two old white-haired white guys, one giving the absolute truth on the stone tablet to the one on earth. This was how reality was transmitted. And I came up in a fundamentalist Christian tradition, so this was kind of what I was taught and what I believed. I've kind of broadened, I hope, in the years since, but this is another image of Moses, and that's the story that I want to begin with. And the way that I hold these ancient stories, no matter which tradition I'm sharing from, whether it's Greek myth or some of the African mythology or these great stories from the Hebrew scriptures or the Christian scriptures, I like the phrase that someone taught me from the Native American tradition when they tell one of their great stories. They say, I don't know if any of this happened, but I know it's true. So that's what we're going to share with today. So this is Moses. He had been called to do this great work of liberation for the children of Israel, and he had this relationship with the divine. They would talk, and God would answer, and I guess write things on tablets. And God was a good friend to Moses, but Moses felt like it wasn't quite an equal relationship. And one day he just said, God, I really need to see your face. That would help me a lot here. And God said, you can't handle my face. But what I'll do is this. I'm going to place you on this rock, and then there's a cleft, a hole in that rock. I'm going to put you there. I'm going to cover you with my hand. Then I'm going to walk by. And after I've passed, I'll remove my hand, and you can gaze upon my hind parts. I love that. I'm sure that some of us have gazed upon hind parts here and there in our lives, but that's another story too. So this is the way it's recorded in Scripture from Exodus 33, 21 to 23. The Lord said, there is a place near me where you may stand on a rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I pass by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen. So here's where I want to begin, giving some context today that we can never fully know the infinite because it's infinite. That as much knowledge of the divine as we can hold, it's not all of it. That the best of science and philosophy is still partial knowledge. It is the poets and mystics who understand this, and they activate our intuitive knowing with metaphor. So truly, when we're speaking about the infinite, metaphor is the best way in. And that's what that story is about, metaphor. And it's what it's showing us is that spirit has no edges. We can't contain the divine. But what we can seek to do is see where it's past. We can discern the nature of God by what our experience is of moving through this world. I'm going to be sharing 3 lenses or perspectives today, and each of them has a 3. So it's 3 threes. The first are the 3 major worldviews, and then we're going to talk about the 3 faces of God, and then 3 strands of the braid. So those of you who, like me, I know Celeste is on here. She's a Holmes Institute grad. There were probably more here. I graduated in 2009, and this came to me through Christian De Quincey. He had a class that he taught for our seminary. It was called Mind in the Cosmos. And these are the 3 major worldviews that all science, philosophy, religion mostly fits into these 3 views. And they all seek to answer this question, or what is the nature of reality? But then this is the what's called the hard question, or the hard problem of philosophy, is how does consciousness and matter interact? How does that happen? How do consciousness and matter interact? Or mind and spirit would be other ways we might think about that. So here we go. This is the album I was mentioning, my title, Spirits in a Material World. This comes from the album. And the title of the album from the Police is Ghost in the Machine. And this comes from British philosopher Gilbert Ryle. And what he was also a critic of philosophers. And he said that both material that we can understand. And I know you guys know this, you already are deeply wise in this. It's just what's in my heart to share today, to hope to reinvigorate or reignite that spark of loving this physical world and loving these physical vessels that we have in a way to establish and experience more of our wholeness. So I'm going to go back to my screen. It's weird not being able to hear you guys. I'm so used to, the feeling the energy of the folks listening when I do this. So this is actually a branch of idealist worldview, which I believe, and this is what Christian De Quincey taught us in seminary, that he believes this is what New Thought is. He himself is a panpsychist, but he believes that New Thought is emanation idealism. This believes that the spiritual reality is the only true reality. But this material world emerges or emanates from spirit. As Holmes said, it is the logical and necessary outcome. So the next lens I want to offer you, some of you probably are aware of this too. This comes from the integral world, Ken Wilber, and his approach to try and weave together all the great philosophies and the golden truth found in all the world's religions, art, and all these science, all this great stuff. But this is the three faces of God model. And these are the three ways that we can be in relationship with or stand in divinity. And you might think of them as just the three parts of speech. The first person personal, the I am divine. The second person personal, thou, you are divine. And then the third, the impersonal, third person, it. So all of these are ways of understanding divinity. I am God, thou art God, God simply is. God is all that is. And again, going back to the spiritual traditions, what Wilber says is that all of the great traditions emphasize one or two of these three faces. And of course, in Western religion, it's almost entirely that second face, that there is a God out there, which corresponds to the dualistic worldview. That there is a God out there and everything down here is fallen, separate, disconnected from spiritual reality. Then there are the Eastern traditions tend to emphasize the first and the third, that if everything indeed is holy, divine, then I am a part of that. So I too am an expression of divinity. This slide, I want to thank my friend Cindy Wigglesworth for putting this together. It gives a little bit more texture. I'm not going to go into all of this, but just ways of sort of understanding it. I also like that she found the little A, B, and C section, the place where the two relationship between the I and the thou and the it, and the I and the it. And then this comes, I already said this. Yeah, to be integral, we want to learn to stand in all three places. The reason I want to share this piece with you today, and this may just be for Michael Gott, so ignore it if it's not useful, that I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian faith. I was taught that my church had the absolute real truth, and we pitied and despised a little bit those who didn't agree or opposed us. And that didn't work. I outgrew that. I was actually a sophomore at Oral Roberts University, which kind of shows you how deep I was in that world. When one day I was coming out, finally getting honest about my sexual orientation, and there was no room for that in that world. And I remember I was lying on my dorm room bed, just in such anguish about my world falling apart. This nice, tidy religious structure that had kind of kept me safe and superior when I was doing it right was really falling apart in front of me. And I was still trying to make my world make sense in terms of spiritual reality. But I had this thought that, what I was taught was that only those who had been washed by the blood of Jesus, who had received the gift of blood atonement, the sacrifice for sins, only those people were going to be reconciled to the divine. And I knew that was a very small number, even those who were, because what I was taught was a lot of people who said they were Christian, not really, not so much. They didn't do it right. So it was a very, very small group. And I was even taught, because it was part of that Pentecostal world, that unless you had the sanctifying expression and the sign that you were saved by speaking in tongues, you were going to go to hell. So I was just crunching the numbers, sitting in my dorm room, and it was like, that's not very many people. That's like out of the 100 billion or so human beings, Homo sapiens, who have existed, it's like a 0.00001% that are not going to be punished in eternal death and fire. And I was like, that makes no sense. And I just began to like sort of pull on the thread of that sweater. If you've ever done that, it all just starts coming apart. And it was the place of, like I said, of deep anguish, and I felt lost and confused. But it was the beginning. It was when I let go of my surety, when I let go of my absolute truth that I thought I was holding. It opened me to such evolution and growth. And I've had to learn that lesson again and again. And when I got to New Thought, and some of you know this story, but I was minding my own damn business, singing in a gay piano bar in Dallas, Texas. I was done with church. I was done with religion. I was done with Bible. I was done with ministers, all that. Then this guy comes in. He's listening to my music. On my break, he gives me a $5 tip, which got my attention. And then I thought he was going to ask me out on a date. And what he did instead was he asked me to come sing at his church. It's Reverend Marty Bacher, for those who know him. And this was in 1995, I think, something like that. And I thought, what kind of a church sends their minister out to a gay piano bar to find a singer? I may have just found my church. So I showed up that next Sunday, or whenever I got booked, and Marty just said, just sing something positive. We love show tunes. So I sang Somewhere from West Side Story and What a Wonderful World. And, I didn't know what the hell you guys were all about. I didn't understand it, but I just kept coming back because the check cashed. And what I began to see, or I just might, nobody was yelling at me and telling me I was doing it wrong. That there was the message was positive. It was somehow telling me that even though I had a lot of shame and I was active in alcohol addiction, I had a lot of chaos in my life at that time. I was able to catch on to enough of it to go, well, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. And then once I started taking classes, I knew you guys were right. And guess what? I ended up in that same place of ontological arrogance. The same place, well, now I've got the real truth because now I'm in science of mind. Now I know how to pray in 5 steps. Now I have an explanation for reality. And so this too must fall. And I just want to remind us, as much as we love our tradition, as much as we love this teaching, it is partial. It's just part of the truth. And what I've seen so much in New Thought, and Michelle Wadley, I remember you and I were at that conference in Atlanta, Circle of Love, one year, and I don't remember who the speaker was, but they said, what's really missing in New Thought is a devotional path. And I will tell you, something pierced my heart. And I recognized that I was missing a way to relate to God. Because I had been told that we don't do that here, that we are, and it is, but there is no thou. And it was only when someone, and it may have been you, Michelle, someone began introducing the Sufi poetry into our gatherings, into our services, the idea of the divine as the beloved, that I began to cultivate this possibility of being in relationship with the divine again. And guess what? My arrogance sort of melted into love again. I had this restoration of being able to love God. And I know that it's, how do I want to say this? When I say that I love God, some people still in New Thought think that I'm talking about that white man with the white hair and the white beard and up there in the sky. That's not what I'm talking about. I love too when Ernest Holmes says, I think it's in the We Believe statement, that this presence is personal to all. Mary Morrissey says it this way, that God speaks in tongues, meaning that the Holy Spirit speaks to each individual in the language of their own soul. And so I have this personal, devotional, loving relationship with God again. I remember I was at the Big Sky Retreat one time and having dinner with a couple of friends of mine, long time Science of Mind ministers. And And I was talking about how I had gone to a Science of Mind church, and the minister in her welcome that morning said, "We just want you to know God loves you." And I said, "You know, I'm not getting a lot of that in my church." And my friend was like, "Ugh, if somebody had said that on my first day, I would have run screaming from the building." So I don't want anyone to run screaming from this Zoom call when I say that God loves you, but God does. The infinite needs you. That's why we're here. We are a part, we are a necessary, unrepeatable, irreplaceable expression of love. And that's what Ernest Holmes defined love as: the self-givingness of spirit into creation, right? And we are here. We are creator, creative process, and creation. We live in all three places. And anytime that we are anytime that we are, we got it all figured out. I'm just here to gently remind you, beloveds, that we don't have it all figured out. We are constantly being invited into the greater, yet to be of the one. All right, going back to my share now. Oh, actually, I want to do a little interactive piece. So I'm going to adjust my camera here, so you get to look at my ceiling in my study. This is an affirmation or an invocation of the three faces. It was created by a wonderful Christian minister, Paul Smith, who loves us in New Thought, and we love him. The Southern Baptists kicked him out, but his church stayed with him. Wonderful, wonderful minister. But this is the way to, just a prayer to get in touch with the three faces of God. And it does have a body prayer that goes with it. So feel free to do this from where you are if you like. Infinite God, in whom I live and move and have my being. And this motion of upward and outward, that I am a part of the great it that is God. Intimate God, you are always with me. And it's this motion of like someone, you can imagine someone right across from you holding your hand. And innermost God, I am the light of the world. So I am going to sing tonight. I've got a better microphone. I'll be at my piano, all that set up. But I did set this to music. So I'm just going to sing it with you, sing it for you. And if you want to join me for a couple times, you can. It goes like this. Infinite God, in whom I live and move and have my being. Intimate God, you are always with me. Innermost God, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. I added the fourth line because I needed to make the song work. Infinite God, in whom I live and move and have my being. Intimate God, you are always with me. Innermost God, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. So, thank you for indulging me. All right, moving on. I don't know if you have had Karen Russo at your conferences, Anton, but she is amazing. Dear friend, religious science minister. I know Michelle Wadley knows her. She's in Scottsdale. Karen is just an amazing, amazing being. And she's the author of The Money Keys, and she does a lot of teaching on prosperity from a very high level, very embodied, very evolved. I love her work. As a matter of fact, I had my money completely healed using her work a few years ago. And this is the approach that she uses, which is why I'm bringing it in today, to balance the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Because I think the answer to the wounds of patriarchy in ourselves, in our bodies, and in the world is a return of the feminine. And of course, you know, this has nothing to do with biological gender or gender expression, biological sex or gender expression. This has to do with the energies of life and creation itself, that this is just the the frame that many of the great traditions have used to speak of it in terms of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. The way Karen defines the divine masculine energy is that it's all about intention, choice, and action. And the divine feminine is about awareness, gratitude, and the ability to experience satisfaction. Now, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. For those of you who know what we are like, we are busy, doing, active, choosing, creative people. We are here to achieve, and then we want you to notice that we achieve something. So that's what we 3s do. I am all about the divine masculine, intention, choice, and action. I had been working with Karen and friends with Karen. I read her book. I've heard her speak at conferences and at my church. I've invited her to come here. I probably heard her speak 15 times. And I never got this last bit of the divine feminine, the ability to experience satisfaction. It was like I had scales over my eyes because I thought I can only be satisfied when I get it perfect. And I'm here to remind you, too, that perfectionism is a lie and sucks the joy right of everything in your life. That the divine feminine allows us to experience perfection, and a perfection so profoundly whole that it can hold all of those human imperfections, all of those things that don't look to us, perfectionists, as perfect. I think that's all I wanted to say here. So before I get into this next section, I want to talk about re-enchanting our relationship with physical reality. Remember what Ernest Holmes said that, actually, don't read ahead yet. Wait just a minute. That the physical reality is, the physical universe is the necessary and logical outcome of God's self-knowingness. And so sometimes in our science of mind teaching, we get really stuck on that mind part and on the thinking about the experience rather than just the experience. And it is also patriarchy, and I'm going to say it the way that Bell Hooks says it. It is, how does she say it? Make sure I get this right. Imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. That's the atmosphere that every one of us has grown up in. And we must be able to see that it's in need of healing. It's in need of a return of the divine feminine. So this is a wonderful poem by Mary Oliver called Ghosts. It is in 7 stanzas, a little longer, but I think it's worth it. Have you noticed? Where so many millions of powerful bawling beasts lay down on the earth and died, it's hard to tell now what's bone and what merely was once. The golden eagle, for instance, has a bit of heaviness in him. Moreover, the huge barns seem ready sometimes to ramble off toward deeper grass. 1805, near the Bitterroot Mountains, a man named Lewis kneels down on the prairie watching a sparrow's nest cleverly concealed in the wild hyssop and lined with buffalo hair. The chicks, not more than a day hatched, lean quietly into the thick wool, as if content, after all, to have left the perfect world and fallen, helpless and blind, into the flowered fields and the perils of this one. In the book of the earth it is written, nothing can die. In the book of the Sioux it is written, they have gone away into the earth to hide. Nothing will coax them out again but the people dancing. Said the old timers, the tongue is the sweetest meat. Passengers shooting from the train windows could hardly miss, there were that many. Afterward, the carcasses stank unbelievably and sang with flies, ribboned with slopes of white fat, black ropes of blood, hell hunks in the prairie heat. Have you noticed how the rain falls soft as the fall of moccasins? Have you noticed how the immense circles still, stubbornly after 100 years, mark the grass where the rich droppings from the roaring bulls fell to earth as the herd stood, day after day, moon after moon in their tribal circle, outwaiting the pack of yellow-eyed wolves that are also, have you noticed, gone now? Only once, And then in a dream, I watched while secretly and with the tenderness of any caring woman, a cow gave birth to a red calf, tongued him dry and nursed him in a warm corner of the clear night in the fragrant grass, in the wild domains of the prairie spring. And I asked them in my dream, I knelt down and asked them to make room for me. How many of you love Mary Oliver? The ability to just find the divine in our earth, in our beautiful, neglected earth. There is a call in me to reconnect this sacred relationship with the body of God as demonstrated by our beautiful planet that has borne us and birthed us and sustained us. I want to share with you another book that has just, oh my gosh, lit me up. So some of you probably already know this too, but it is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Now, Robin she is a quarter Potawatomi. She is also an ecologist and a botanist. She's a scientist. And she's a mom. And those things come together in her that is just absolutely beautiful to see. It's just a collection of essays, as it says, it's indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teachings of plants. And the central premise or the theme that runs through this book is that we've gotten our relationship with the planet wrong. And she often talks about the fact that in the West, due to our patriarchal system, we have seen the earth as a commodity economy, that it's just giving us things we can use and sell. And in the native tradition, the earth it's a gift economy. Everything is given to us and requires from us reciprocity and responsibility. I want to read to you a passage from this book. How are we doing? I'm going to wrap up here in just a minute. She's speaking here. She lives in upstate New York, and she had gone to a tribal school, and they don't do the Pledge of Allegiance there. They do the words of thanksgiving every morning. And it's a very long and beautiful invocation, giving thanks and honor to all of the different families of beings and expressions and the water and the rocks. And it's lovely. I'm just going to read this last part. This is from the Thanksgiving blessing address. We now turn our thoughts to the Creator or Great Spirit and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greeting and thanks to our Creator. Now our minds are one. And then Robin writes, these words are simple, but in the art of their joining, they become a statement of sovereignty, a political structure, a bill of responsibilities, an educational model, a family tree, and a scientific inventory of ecosystem services. It is a powerful political document, a social contract, a way of being all in one piece. But first and foremost, it is a credo for a culture of gratitude. Cultures of gratitude must also be cultures of reciprocity. Each person, human or no, is bound to every other in a reciprocal relationship. Just as all beings have a duty to me, I have a duty to them. If an animal gives its life to feed me, I am in turn bound to support its life. If I receive a stream's gift of pure water, then I am responsible for returning a gift in kind. An integral part of a human's education is to know these duties and how to perform them. The Thanksgiving address reminds us that duties and gifts are two sides of the same coin. Eagles were given the gift of far sight, so it is their duty to watch over us. Rain fulfills its duty as it falls because it was given the gift of sustaining life. And what is the duty of humans? If gifts and responsibilities are one, then asking, what is our responsibility, is the same as asking, what is our gift? It is said that only humans have the capacity for gratitude. That is among our gifts. My last thing I want to share with you is, as I mentioned, I want to honor Earth Day and then encourage us all to ask the question, how can I move in greater harmony with the earth? I think it's important for us to, as a movement, as individuals, to take up. But I want to actually close by just talking about a shift, a healing, a miracle that I've experienced in my own life in relationship to physical reality, and it has to do with my relationship with my own body. I'm a gay man. There tends to be a lot of focus on looks in that culture, as my other gay man here will attest to. And I know it's not that different for other people, but it's definitely, as we get older, it's something that we have to come to terms with. And now at this point in my life, I'm single and older. I'll be 56 next month, and I know many of you are older than me. I do recognize that I've got some years ahead of me, but I do know how young I am, but I also know how old I am. And last summer, after, this is my 5th year of being senior minister at Unity of Houston, and we had Hurricane Harvey 9 days before I became senior minister in Houston. I had over 100 families in my church that were completely flooded out of their homes. So that's what I was dealing with. And then all of us who are leading communities know what we're dealing with the cultural trends against church attendance. People just don't have it in their lives anymore. So it's all shifting and changing. And then with the pandemic, as you all know too, the last 2 years plus have just been really challenging for our community. And last summer, I was burnt to a crisp, burnt out. And I went to the board of directors and I just said, I did a survey and I've only taken 50% of my time off since I've been senior minister, and I really need some time. So I'm going to take 6 weeks off this summer. And I went to Costa Rica for part of that, and I grieved. I sat and meditated. I swam in the ocean. I walked. And one time I was getting out of the shower and I was in this beautiful resort in a big room, and there's this giant mirror, and I'm catching this glimpse of my 55-year-old body, and which I've always been at odds with my entire life. And I just had this moment of such familiar shame. And that place where I was staying, it's a big surfer place. So even the guys my age down there by the pool had like surfer bodies, and I just never had that. And I had this moment of such disappointment and pain. And then I got this message from my higher self, I think. I don't know. It just landed in my consciousness. And it was just this: my job is to love this body as it ages. My job is to love this body as it ages. And for me, that has come, it continues to reveal such truth to me. All the things I've been talking about integrating body, mind, and spirit. That is the 3 braids of the Sweetgrass that Robin talks about in her book. It's each of those strands, body, mind, and spirit, not one dominating the other, moving together in harmony. The masculine and the feminine, and the masculine loving my body as it ages means I need to exercise. I need to eat well and make good choices and intentions. And the divine feminine, my approach as I love my body as it ages, is to bless all of it, even the love handles, even the places that are not where they used to be, to love it and to call it good and call it a miracle and to call it blessed. So happy Earth Day. I love you all. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful conference. I hope that the rest of your day is just filled with joy and love. Thank you.
Wow. Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, as much as we love your music, your talks are equally as amazing. Thank you. It is so good to see you. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your love. We appreciate your being with us.
Thank you.
Just a couple of quick reminders, because we're almost at the top of the hour. This virtual retreat is free of charge, and we are so glad you're with us. We are gratefully accepting love offerings to support our speakers, musicians, and others who make it happen. And there's a donate button on our website, antn.org, anton.org, or newthought.org. And ANTN, the affiliated New Thought Network, is a membership organization of churches, centers, and New Thought organizations, as well as individuals. And if you are not a member, but what we do makes your tail wag, and you would like more information, or ideally would like to join us, we would be thrilled to have you with us. Go to the website, there's more information. It's an easy process to join, and we would love to have you with us. It's going to be an amazing day. Coming up next at the top of the hour are breakout sessions, and then later on in the day, our midday sessions start at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. 3 power talks by Jeff Von Seeley, Reverend Dr. Sally Robbins, and Edward Miller. Afternoon sessions starting at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, with Reverend Celeste Frazier. And then our amazing concert starting tonight at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with our beloved Reverend Dr. Michael, as well as Marcy Baruch, Daniel Naimad, and Nemo Patel. It's going to be an amazing, amazing day. So I have just a couple of minutes left, so would you join me in the light for just a moment? And as we relax into the peace and the quiet of this moment, we say yes. Thank you. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Universe, for this amazing day, for this amazing organization, for these wonderful people who have chosen to spend time with us, bringing us their love, their gratitude, their wisdom, and their information and inspiration. We give thanks for this most amazing day, knowing that it is and will be greater than we could have possibly imagined. So we just say yes. For our time together, for this day, for this earth, this Mother Earth, we give great thanks. Together we say, and so it is.